Hi everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel. If it's your first time here, welcome. And if you've been here before, we hope you enjoyed today's video. As always, before we dive in, please click that button right down below and make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Today, it's my honor to be sitting here with Margie Halem of the Margie Halem Group at Compass to discuss the home buying search and what people really need to know before they start looking for that home. So Margie, why don't you introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about you?
Well, thank you for having me. And hi, I'm Margie Halem. I am a real estate agent in the DMV. So I'm licensed in Washington, Maryland, and Virginia. My office is in Bethesda, Maryland. I'm the founding agent of the Compass office. And I have a wonderful team. There are 10 of us, including my son and his new bride. And I've been selling real estate for about 36 years now. So a very long time. And but we work with first-time buyers extensively. And it's one of my favorite parts of my job.
Awesome. And you know, as you start working with buyers, what do you feel like everyone really needs to know? What do you wish they kind of came into the process with?
I think that one of the most important things is to really plan a budget on what you can afford, and then you meet with the lender. But I think it's really important to sort of figure out your cost, your monthly cost in terms of how much house. So that's important. And then narrowing down neighborhoods, and it's a process. So when I first meet with buyers, I say, you know what? I'll introduce them to many different neighborhoods, but in order to really get to know a neighborhood, you have to spend some time, and that means walking around on the weekends, meeting the neighbors, talking to them, asking do they have, Halloween parades and July 4th parties, etc. And just to find out about the community. I think that's really important.
That's great advice. And you heard Margie just say you need to know what you can afford. So we will drop a card down below to our video on getting pre-approved and the home consult, just so you have that information before you meet with your real estate agent. So they're showing things that work for you and you actually feel comfortable with that process. So what made you start really thinking about first-time home buyers, and what made you have such an extensive career in real estate? Why do you love this?
Well, so it's really interesting. By nature, I am a caregiver, and I try to take care of the world, and I want everybody to be happy. So a lot of that is when you're selling real estate, one thing is I'm establishing relationships with my clients, and hopefully for life. And so that was a big part. It was just really the relationships that I established along the way. But secondly, I think that this stage of my life, because my kids are grown. So now when I have the opportunity to, I don't want to say mother my first time buyers, but I want them to know that this is what I would be doing to help my child find a home, their perfect place in the world. And I want them to look at resale is so important, and when you're looking as a buyer, you have to also be wearing your hat as a seller. Is this house going to appeal to other buyers when they purchase? So that's so important to me. Not to every buyer until I explain why, and I think that's just a very helpful thing to remember.
Yeah, we always talk about how real estate will forever be one of the best ways to build your own personal wealth. People care about getting into all different types of savings and things of that sort, but the equity you can build in a house and really thinking about it from that I'm going to be a seller one day perspective is really important, and I think so valuable to your clients.
Right.
And I guess really when you are talking to someone, what do you feel like they don't know, or what is their biggest misconception when they come into the process and start looking for a home?
Well, I think at least in this climate right now, it is very competitive.
Yeah.
So it's really important to do as much homework as possible in advance of your search, and learning about even mechanics of a house. You have a home inspection on a property, but a lot of times right now in this competitive environment, as a first-time buyer, you certainly don't want to buy a house without an inspection. But it doesn't mean that you have to have a home inspection contingency, you can do what's called a pre-inspection if the listing agent agrees to that. So you're actually learning about the house and becoming aware of what's going to need to be done. That's helpful. Or even just, I mean, this is crazy, but we're so lucky to have everything on the internet and to have HGTV and all of these shows that educate us. So to buyers, I say, watch it. Call real estate agents. I love helping people. You know, I love talking to people. You know, we're supposed to be your real estate resource, whether you're our client or not. It doesn't, you can be at a, well, not right now, but at a cocktail party or, you know, in the park, walking your dog and, you know, talk to the local realtor there and just gain insight on the community and, you know, things that the neighborhood has to offer and so forth. But I do think that learning the systems of a house and really knowing, you know, from roofs to HVAC, like there's a lot of components that make up a home. It's not just the four walls. So I think that buyers don't even think about that, you know, beforehand, from windows to, you know, systems.
I think that's a really interesting point. And you mentioned people getting to know the neighborhoods that they are potentially interested in. So obviously we're in a little bit of a weird world right now where you can't just walk into every open house and spend all the time talking to the people inside. So do you recommend people go for walks in different neighborhoods, take different tours? What are some creative things you're telling buyers now?
Well, I mean, creative things to do are really, like, we're fortunate today is a beautiful day. We're 53 degrees. It's wintertime. But, you know, walk through the neighborhoods. Weekends, typically. But nowadays, I mean, if you drive up and down my street right now, you'll see there's so many people out because we're all working from home anyway, but just talking to neighbors. And you can even go on, there's some sites that it's called Nextdoor, which have the different neighborhoods linked into that, which is helpful. But a lot of that is really just walking through a community and talking to neighbors. And I'll be with clients actually showing, and they'll ask me things that, you know, as real estate agents, we can't answer. You know, like, go knock on the door and have a conversation with the neighbor, you know?
Absolutely.
So,
I think that's all so helpful for first-time home buyers, but also for the people moving up or potentially downsizing. Maybe you're shrinking because your kids are grown and you want a community now that your family isn't at home. So I think this is wonderful advice, not just for our first-time home buyers, but for everyone.
Well, even like relocation buyers. I mean, I had a call today from somebody that's relocating from Arizona. You know, they don't know anything about the area. You know, so they rely on the realtor to educate them and show them where the grocery store is and where the dry cleaners is, you know, the closest Starbucks, whatever it is. But it's really important that the agent that you're choosing to work with knows the neighborhoods that you're looking in.
And I think that's actually a great segue into, how do you pick a real estate agent? How do you decide who works for you? What makes that kind of perfect pair?
Good question. So I think that a neighborhood specialist is very important. If you know, like, the area that you want to be in, you certainly want an agent that, you know, has her pulse or his pulse on the neighborhood and knows what's coming on the market and can, you know, I can, like in my neighborhood, for instance, I can tell you what every house is sold for, you know, in 4 blocks that are right here, and as to why. You know, and then I know the history of when we had the height of the market versus when the market crashed and where we are again in terms of pricing. And again, a lot of that is online, but if you have an agent that has that knowledge and has that all up in their head, you really want someone who's seasoned and knows. And it's okay if you have a friend who's newly licensed. Hopefully they're working with a partner or on a team where they have somebody that's been around a little bit, because I also have a lot of faith in our younger or newer agents, I would say, who really can relate to the first-time buyers too, because they're in that same situation and they're out looking, and they do know the market. So it's really important though that we have each other. You know, it's amazing how my crew that's less, you know, than 10 years in the business has helped me actually.
Right. Yeah. I think there's always that great team philosophy.
For sure.
The more you can learn from each other, the better.
For sure.
And, you know, kind of on that note, what have you learned over the past year as the market, or really 8 months, as the market has gone a little bit bonkers and we continue to see interest rates at, you know, record lows, and I think we hit 22 record lows in 2020, and we are predicting that rates stay low. And you've already talked a little bit about the competitiveness in this market, but what do you kind of see coming in 2021? What is your outlook for the next 6 to 8 months?
Well, my outlook for the next 6 to 8 months is that we are going to be in a seller's market, as we are right now.
Right.
You know, it just is that, it's just where we are. But I think it's really important as a seller to price your property properly, to create that competition and give everybody an opportunity. But what happens when, especially with first-time buyers, when you have a certain price point that you're not going to exceed. Just an example, if you're looking right now which is a very competitive price range in the 700s, for instance, you know, looking at something that's at $795, sometimes, and right now typically is going in the $850 plus range.
Right.
So you really have to be careful, and we set expectations and try to explain to our first-time buyers, and it's a very frustrating process that, you know, some of them will say, I don't want to get into a bidding situation. Well, then you're not going to be buying real estate in 2021. You know, I mean,
Right.
That's the way it is. So you just have to, you know, trust your agent. You know, there's just so many things, but I would just say you have to be ready.
Right. So if you're on our channel, you're likely thinking about this process, and it can sound overwhelming. It can sound scary. But if you have a professional or multiple professionals on your team to help you, you will be okay. So you need that trusted real estate agent. You need your lender, and together they will fight and advocate for you.
For sure.
So that you find exactly what you want. And, you know, I always say things always work out the way they should.
Right. I mean, and I can just add one thing, you
Yeah,
know,
of course.
we were just working with a first-time buyer, and there were 16 offers on this house, and we ended up getting the house, and we were not the highest offer, but we know how to write an offer, and it was clean enough, and the listing agent actually really liked us and said, you know what, I want to work with you. I you know, knows our reputation, whatever, and just said, I just know it's going to be easy, and you know, and the seller decided to go with us.
Yeah, I think that's just so powerful, right? If the stronger the team, the stronger the offer in its physical writing, not necessarily the highest bid, but the most appealing package to the sellers will win. And you have to trust the people you're working with. Without trust, there's nothing. So take that time, talk to your agent, get to know them. Maybe you guys have the same dog, maybe you went to the same college, maybe your kids, their kids are your age, or whatever it might be, but build that relationship. Don't think that everything it can be on the internet. We do have tons of resources. That's why we're here. That's why we're on YouTube. We want you to engage with us digitally, but we're people too. Come get to know us. We would love to talk to you. Mm-hmm. And Margie, I think you have a home buyer's guide just with you right there.
I do, voila.
But we will also link it right in the comments below so that you can download it. And if you're interested in getting in contact with Margie or her team, all of that information will be right in that packet as well.
And we're happy to answer any questions. I mean, you don't have to feel obligated either.
Absolutely.
It's a learning process.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being willing to do this with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Your expertise is so valuable to each and every one of the people watching this video.
Okay, good luck.